Denizens of the comics verse. Mark Bouchard here at C2E2 with Fabian Nicieza, the creator of Deadpool. At what point did you realize that comics were a viable career for you? What book were you reading?
I honestly realized they were a vital career for me when I actually started to earn money making them. That's when you realize that it's a viable career for you. But I had a job at Marvel Comics. I was working on staff at Marvel Comics before I even started writing. So I had a viable career in comics before I even became a professional writer, which is good, because then the writing really took off for me, which is also really good, and allowed me to make the choice between whether I wanted to be a staff job guy or a freelance writer guy, and eventually I chose freelance writer guy.
Do you have a certain process when you create? Do you listen? What sort of music do you listen to?
I used to listen to a lot more music when I was younger. I really honestly kind of stopped doing that quite a long time ago. I used to listen to pretty much anything, any kind of punk-related music from the late 70s, early 80s, Elvis Costello, Clash, REM, that kind of stuff. Then I listened to a lot of Seattle stuff in the early 90s. Then I stopped caring about music.
Deadpool is known for breaking the fourth wall a lot, which is something that you...
Yes, he is.
Which is something that you started during one of the recaps.
No, it was done in the comics before me in the 90s. I know that apparently Joe Kelly did it once or twice, but Christopher Priest really did it a bunch of times when he was writing the book.
Okay.
I only did it because when they gave us the recaps to do, and I was doing the letters page, it made it very easy to have the character talk directly to the reader, and we ended up having a monthly book that had that as a bookend. I ended up doing it inside the comic a little more than I probably should have. I think it's a funny thing that is best done in small doses.
So do you think that it's been sort of overdone right now?
I honestly can't answer that because I don't read all the monthly books all the time. I read little bits and pieces of different runs that get done. So I can't give you a fair answer as to whether it's done or overdone. Ultimately, the readers make that decision. If they enjoy it, then the people making the comics keep doing it.
Has Deadpool over the years retained the original vision that you had when...
Yes and no to a certain extent. Yes, in that the writers who've all worked on him have obviously fully and clearly understood the multiple aspects of the character, that he's not just a joke, that there's also a lot of tragedy to him, there's also a lot of humanity to him, there should be a lot of loneliness to him, as well as a lot of kick-assosity, right? The thing that they do in the comics a lot now, which I wouldn't have done, and I don't know if it's always right for the character, is a lot of magic stuff. They do a lot of supernatural related things, and I think that that's best done in small doses for a character like Deadpool. To give you a simple example, and as much as I like what Jerry does on the book on a monthly basis, he's a really, really good writer, I never would have had Deadpool marry a demon. It just wouldn't have happened. Even as a reader, not just the creator of the character, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. By the same token, if they can get some mileage out of that and if they can have fun with it, then more power to you, because writing monthly books is always trying to find new twists on what you do with the character.
And so I know you put Deadpool's pansexuality and genderlessness into the book, and you've always maintained that was a part of his character. So was there any political agenda there, or was it just sort of a character decision?
No, and it's a really, really dicey, sticky thing to try to talk to people about, because everyone approaches it with what they want it to be. So sometimes you try to explain to them what it is in terms of comic book science, and they have a really hard time understanding or accepting that because they want to relate to it as it regards their real life, okay? And this isn't real life. This is a comic book character who's created based on comic book science. So my comic book science says that the character's cellular structure is in constant flux and constantly regenerating. That includes his brain cells. What that means is that his own personal likes, dislikes, personal preferences, identity, and sense of self evolves and changes and shifts. So he can be heterosexual one day, and a few days later he can believe 100% that he's not, one way or the other, and that'll rotate itself back around again. Now, now people will come back to you and say, that's not how brains work. And the answer is, of course that's not how brains work. This isn't a real brain. This is a comic book brain.
Yeah.
So for a comic book brain, that's how it works, you know? And that's what I stick with. And sometimes that causes a little agita among the social media public. And some people understand it, and other people get really, really angry about it. And that's fine. That's their want. They can do it.
So obviously Deadpool's been getting a lot of press lately with the movie.
Really?
And even in the Marvel universe, he's regarded as somewhat of a celebrity. And how do you think that? How does Deadpool take to that, or how?
I think Deadpool would 100% embrace the notion that he should be a celebrity when he is in front of other people. And when he's by himself, he should look in the mirror and say, I don't deserve to be a celebrity. I'm not worthy. Because that's when his veneer cracks, and that's when the facade fades, and that, the true loneliness and tragedy of the character show up.
And recently you worked on a digital series, Deadpool and Cable Split Second.
Yes, I did.
What prompted the return to Deadpool?
The editor, Jordan White, asking me if I wanted to do it. It's as simple as that. Marvel owns a character. They can offer me to work on the character or not, as is their preference. I tend to love working on the character, so when they ask me if my non-comic schedule will allow, I'm more than happy to do it. So it was a lot of fun to get to work with Riley again and get to work on the digital format, because I personally love the infinite format on Comixology.
And do you have any comics-related projects in the work?
I'm not doing a lot in comics right now. An Avengers Alliance comic, a custom comic that I did for Marvel, which is based on the Avengers Alliance game that they're doing. That's just coming out now, and I'm working on something for DC, which is a one-shot, which will come out in the fall, and I can't talk about it because I'm not allowed to contractually. But I'm working on that right now, actually, as we speak. Well, not as we speak, because I don't have my laptop open, but not while we're speaking, but I'm working on it right now.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have today.
Just in time.
All right, to all you watching at home, subscribe, like, follow at Comicsverse on social media, and check us out at comicsverse.com. I've been Mark.
I'm Fabian Nicieza. Don't tase me, bro.
Signing off.